how did you do that? Because I know there's people out there that feel like it's a roller coaster. We call it the ReLaunch roller coaster. You put it on or you try something and then you end up losing it, gaining it back, gaining more, losing. It's funny. It's not just weight, as we just discussed. It's anything in your life. It can be the same type of ReLaunch roller coaster. But share with us, how did you do it the second time around?
When you start over, I'm sure a lot of you ladies can relate, it is defeating. Like, you did it and now you have to restart. Like, it stinks so bad. And so crying in my hotel room that night, having all these aha moments, I had to pinpoint why and how did I gain it all back and where did I fail? And it came back to sustainability.
Welcome to the ReLaunch to a Rich Life podcast. I'm your host, Hilary DeCesare, and today's episode is all about transformation, grit, and full circle leadership. Meet Kaitlyn Talamante, wife, mom, personal trainer, and now CEO of LadyBoss. Her journey began with a personal transformation where, ready for this, everyone, she lost 75 pounds. She rebuilt her confidence and found her purpose through LadyBoss. Originally launched in 2014, LadyBoss became a global movement, and it was really designed to empower women to take control of their health. And when the company closed in 2022, Russell Brunson stepped in to preserve its legacy. But he knew it needed to be led by a woman who lived the mission. That woman was Kaitlyn. She made the bold move to purchase the company that changed her life. And now, proudly, woman owned and operated, I must add, her life now is proudly about being that CEO of LadyBoss. LadyBoss, everybody, is back. And it's back stronger than ever before with the boss method, which we're going to hear all about. And it's the formula, that's number 4, and a mission to help women everywhere thrive. This is Kaitlyn's relaunch story, one of courage, conviction, and creating an actual movement. So let's dive in and hear all about her relaunch story. Kaitlyn, so good to have you. So good to have you, girl. And I've had so much fun with you over Q1, getting to know you, doing so many incredible things together. And there's so much more. But my audience, the people right now that are listening, need to hear, need to connect, need to be inspired by you like you have inspired me. So let's start with your biggest relaunch. I kind of touched on it, but your biggest relaunch to date so far that really changed the trajectory of your life.
Well, Hilary, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to share my relaunch with your audience. As we talked more about my relaunch and what it looked like, there's so many women who deal with this struggle. And for me, my relaunch happened December of 2022. I originally had lost 65 pounds with LadyBoss as a customer and slowly gained it all back, which was a blessing and a curse because over that time, I gained so much confidence and belief in myself, I didn't notice I gained the weight back until December of 2022 when I was at a work event in Boise. I was surrounded by all these incredible women that were driven and go-getters and entrepreneurs and they knew who they were and they were confident and they shined so bright. And that night, I found myself in my hotel room crying. I was bawling my eyes out. Like, I had just had this incredible day, met all these amazing women, and here I was crying. And at first, I was so confused as to why. I couldn't put my finger on what's wrong with me. That was kind of my mentality. Like, I've done all this work. I've had all this transformation. But it was in that moment that I was able to pinpoint that I haven't fully fixed my insecurities. I didn't fully believe in myself to the extent I thought I had, and that I had added a couple extra pounds back on to all the weight I had lost.
Okay, we've got to stop here because this I'm sure is resonating with a lot of the listeners right now. And I want to just recap. So how long did it take you to lose that first 75 pounds?
The first 65 pounds, 75 pounds, it took me about 10 months to lose.
And how did you do it? Was it, did you do it naturally? Did you use anything else? What was the process?
Yes. So when I lost it back in 2019 and took off the 65 pounds, I was utilizing LadyBoss. That's where I found LadyBoss as a customer. But I did it my way. I used their supplements and I used the 4-step process, but I tweaked it my way. And that's where I failed because I really went into it with an all or nothing mindset. So as a busy mom and career person, wife, I was doing 2-a-days at the gym. I was 100% clean eating, wasn't having any cheat meals, any cheat days, not really even any rest days from the gym. And let's be real, that's not sustainable at all, especially when you've got so much going on in life. And so all the things happened and I fell off track. Doing it my way with all or nothing did not help me out at all.
But 65, as you said, 65 pounds in a 10-month period is a lot of weight, isn't it? It sounds like you were really like going for it.
Yes.
And you also said, hey, you like the way things were coming together. But then you said you didn't fix the insecurity. You didn't fix the root of the problem. You didn't fix that. So was there something at the 10-month mark that actually kind of was like, boom, this is it. This is where now I'm going to start to eat again. I'm going to stop working out. What was that? What happened there that you were on your track, liking how you were looking, and then?
So I had actually just became a certified personal trainer. I had gone off, done the trainings in person, passed all the tests. And the week before I got my test results for the certification, the world shut down. And so imposter syndrome had already been creeping up there, but with COVID shutting the world down, getting their certificate, that I was scared, like, am I even going to get this? Will I pass? Do I have the skills to do this? And the world shut down. So that fear, that insecurity that was lingering there got louder and louder.
So did you get the certification?
I did. Yes.
Okay. You got the certification, COVID hit, you stopped working out, you started to eat more. Did you actually notice the weight going on? Were you aware of that?
No, I was not. I was not aware of it for a very long time.
And then something, and I appreciate you saying, you were going through all of that imposter syndrome also. What was your imposter syndrome really around? What was the base, the foundation of that?
For me back then, my imposter syndrome was around, I almost felt like a fake for some reason. For whatever reason, I still felt like a fake, and that I didn't really have the toolbox to help other people.
So all of a sudden you go, and for those that are also experiencing this, and by the way, hands up right now, I got mine up. We've all felt like that. We've all felt like, what the heck am I? I remember when my book came out, ReLaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life. I'm like, who am I to write a book? I am not an author. I merely put my thoughts down, and I just said, okay, this is my life's journey of relaunches. And I'm like, it is going to be a total bust, but at least I have it for my kids. That's what I kept thinking. At least they'll know more about their mom. And it's so interesting, the idea that you were certified, you had at that point lost the 65 pounds, you knew how to do it. And a lot of times that's our litmus test, is that, hey, I've done it. If I can do it, you can do it, right? You've heard that 1,000 times. But it's interesting that even at that point, you're like, what the heck? So what did you do to kind of allow yourself? You went through COVID, and then there was a turning point at this event, and you ended up kind of like having this awakening where you're seeing, get me at that location, put me right there next to you. And what was going through your mind?
So when I was in my room that night and found myself crying, I pulled out my journal. And even though I had built confidence and I knew I belonged there, I didn't feel like it. And I knew something inside was still broken, still doubting. And so that night I dug deeper. I pulled out my journal and I started asking myself a few questions. Like, what is causing this? And I realized I needed to heal. I still had some growing and rediscovering that I had to push through, that I had pushed to the side for so long. And so I named those things out.
Can we talk about those? Yeah. What did you need to heal?
I needed to heal the fact I needed to stop comparing myself to others first and foremost. I was sitting there feeling like I wasn't qualified because of the way my body looked at the time. And then as a kid, we're going to go back to like kid trauma, fears induced. I was always told I talked too much. I needed to be quiet, think before you speak. And so I had kind of
Did you also hear that one about kids are meant to be seen and not heard?
Oh, yes.
Because I can remember my dad specifically saying that. Hilary Jane,
mm-hmm.
we don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'd be like, what do you say to that? You just get shut down. You're mid-sentence.
And so what I say is like, I ended up putting myself in a box. Mm-hmm. And so I developed additional fears because I put myself in this box that I never had before, like public speaking. Like I couldn't imagine me sitting on this podcast back then because of those fears. As a kid, as a teenager, oh, you bet your butt I'd be here. But I had put myself in that box. All those things that was told to me when I was little about talking too much, not thinking before I speak, being too loud, talking too fast, put me in this box and made me build this fear that when words came out of my mouth, no one would want to listen.
So it's interesting what you ended up doing, and everybody has kind of their kryptonite, right? For you, it was food. When did you start to realize that you were trying to, well, let me ask you this. What was it about food that gave you comfort, that made you feel like, okay, I feel a little better, at least during the time when you were eating, right? There's always that aftermath. But what was that?
I always said, and I still do to this day, that I am a foodie. And so food brought me comfort in all senses. Mm-hmm. And around that time, I was doing a lot of traveling. And coming from a very small town with very limited restaurants, that was a perk in traveling. And so I found myself in work travel and personal travel, eating everywhere, because one, that's how I grew up. I'm a foodie, and it was my comfort zone.
I get it. I've been told that I am a fat person in a thin body, health-wise, which is really a bad deal because you can look fine and you're like, I look okay. So it must be okay to have that cheeseburger, that In-N-Out burger with the fries. And, until the test results start to come in and you're like, what? Yes. Like, what is that? And literally the doctor told me that. I'm like, so we all have, these things that we do to comfort ourselves. And as you said, you're a foodie. Mm-hmm. Love, kind of you and me, we're going to do great together when we see each other in Phoenix, Arizona and Scottsdale, when we're like, because I too love the food. And it does bring a great sense of comfort. And I eat things to remind myself of some of the memories. My mom's passed away. My dad's passed away. A lot of family members have had some serious things happen and they're gone. So I'll remember and I'll eat and I'll be there in the moment. But for you, as you're hearing more and more of these stories, what advice do you give people that are creeping up? They're starting to, or just eating like not healthy for your body?
I think all of it, no matter how you treat your body, your weight, your size, what you're putting in it, really stems from your mindset. And so I would just remind them that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're just buried inside. And so start by building one habit at a time to undig yourself and find the you that's been buried.
You know what? That probably is striking many chords for many people. And we're going to get more into your 4-step process. But I gotta throw this one out because we need enough time to talk about you taking over LadyBoss. Tell us about this journey, because I was intrigued when I heard it, that basically Russell Brunson bought it. Tell us like how that happened and then how you became the LadyBoss.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I started with LadyBoss as a customer, and then I started working for the company as a new mom. And so when the original owners decided to shut LadyBoss down, I was at that time an employee, unsure of where it was going to go, what was going to happen. Russell Brunson came in, saved the day, and brought me on board, which was amazing because I got to continue with a company and a mission I truly loved and enjoy.
I know people are sitting there saying, Hilary, you got to ask the question, why did it have to shut down?
The previous owners were in a new season of life.
Mm.
The face of the company, her name is Kaitlyn, not Kaitlyn.
That's funny in itself. It's not Kaitlyn. Okay. You are the Kaitlyn, the ladybug.
I'm Kaitlyn, not Kaitlyn. And she had just had her second daughter, and she was ready to be a mom. She was ready to spend that time with her kids and be present. And as the face of the business, it took a lot of her time, a lot of time away. And she was just ready for a new season to be present with them.
So you came in, you were already there, and Russell buys it. How long did he own it before things started to shift again?
Almost 2 years. So he purchased it about June of 2022. Oh yeah, I guess right over 2 years, 2.5. And I purchased it December of 2024.
All right. So when was that moment that you thought, hey, I'd like to buy this? Like, how did that even come to be?
So it was about middle of October last year. And Russell and I were talking about some things and some possible partnerships with other companies that would align with LadyBoss. And he basically said, I'm thinking about seeing if someone would be interested in acquiring or purchasing LadyBoss because it needs to be run by a woman. And Russell Brunson's a busy man. So while he loves what LadyBoss stands for in the company, like it's not his passion. Okay. Let's be honest. And he knew it needed to be owned and ran by women. And so he first threw out the idea and even some names. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. I'm normally a fast twitch. Let me slow twitch on this one and I'll get back to you. And I had thought it. I was like, well, could it be me? Is it possible it could be me? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified. That imposter syndrome, that fear crept in. And it actually wasn't until my husband was like, well, why don't you throw your hat in the ring?
Had you ever run a business? Did you have that experience and your husband saying, hey, throw your hat in the ring? How awesome is that? But tell us, like, what was your background?
So my background before LadyBoss was 10 years in corporate banking. So I was a corporate employee for 10 years. My business experience was there. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what that looked like. I have run some Airbnbs, but nothing to the complexity of payroll and employees and all of that. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted it to be something I was passionate about, which was mindset. But I hadn't fully developed what the company was or what it looked like.
So before when it was Kaitlyn, was she focused on the mindset or was she just focused on kind of the products? What did that look like?
There's different seasons of LadyBoss, but there was still the 4-step method back then. And so working on your state was a big part of it.
So yeah, let's talk about the 4-step method. What is that?
So we call it our boss method formula, 4 steps formula. And it is your state, shape, sparkle, and success. So state, how are you working on your mindset? How are you growing and believing in yourself and showing up, pouring into your cup every day? Shape, how are you moving your body and how are you fueling your body? Sparkle is all about self-care. How are you taking care of yourself, but then also sharing that light inside of you with others? Because when you do that, like the light for yourself only grows more. And then success. What are your goals? Whether they're weight-based, the way your clothes fit, career, financial, relationship, what are your goals? Small, big, and big, scary, hairy, God-sized, audacious.
Okay, I love this. But now I have to go back because I'm not quite done yet with all of a sudden you go to Russell and you say, what?
I say, would you consider giving me the opportunity to acquire LadyBoss? And I would
This
be
is a big
lying.
financial decision for you and your family.
Very, very much so. Very, very much so. And I would definitely say Russell was taken back. Like, oh, I hadn't really considered that. You'd be interested. Could you pull off some things? And
Yeah,
I will do what I
can you
can.
pull it off? Can you actually afford it? Can you pay me? He's a businessman.
Yes. And what's even more crazy is back in October, my family, we had actually put an offer in on a home. Home had been on the market for over a year. No offers had come through. We're like, shoot, we got this. Another offer came through. And when I threw my hat in the ring, I was like, that was God's protection all day. I wasn't meant to buy this house because I'm meant to buy this business.
I mean, imagine, you're right. If you had all of a sudden had the double, you'd be like, okay, so everything divinely happened.
Yes.
And how long did it take from the time that he said yes to when you were the CEO of LadyBoss?
Oh, so I would say the conversation started about mid-October. We finalized on December 20th of 2025. And I want to say the actual, like, let's get it down on paper, started like December 1st. So it moved, I don't know. In that time frame, it seems pretty quick, but in my mind, it was going really slow. I'm like, okay, are you going to let me buy it? Like, where's the answer? I want to know. And
that is crazy. So all of a sudden, you now, did you have one of those moments like, what have I just done?
Oh, yeah. I still have them. I still have them.
I want to, you know what I wish I could have been as a fly on the wall when you and your husband were sitting there and it's like, it just went through and you're like, whoa.
Yes. And what's bad for me is I am a checklist person, kind of. I check it off and I move on to my next goal. And as I'm sure you know, Hilary, that is really bad for women to do. We have to celebrate it. And I'm like, okay, I did it. It's signed. Let's get to work. And me and my husband like had to stop me. Like, no, this is huge. We have to go celebrate and enjoy. We can't just check it off and move on. Like, we have to acknowledge it because this is a huge thing. It's risky. It's scary. It's exciting. All the emotions. We have to go celebrate.
Can I tell you, and this is when we first talked and we were talking about, you know, your state, the shape, sparkle, success, and very similar to kind of my tune in, right? Not so much, you know, because it could be health, wealth, relationships, any of that. And it really, when you were talking about your, you know, process, I'm like, yeah. And you have that inner sparkle, that inner drive, that what people really are looking towards. But we haven't talked about what happened after you had put the weight on. You ended up going through another transformation and have since taken everything off in a very stressful time, I might add, where you're buying this company. How did you do that? Because I know there's people out there that feel like it's a roller coaster. We call it the relaunch roller coaster. You put it on or you try something and then you end up losing it, gaining it back, gaining more, losing. I mean, and it's funny. It's not just weight, as we just discussed. It's anything in your life. It can be the same type of relaunch roller coaster. But share with us, how did you do it the second time around?
Well, when you start over, I'm sure a lot of you ladies can relate. It is defeating. Like, you did it and now you have to restart. Like, it stinks so bad. And so crying in my hotel room that night, having all these aha moments, I had to pinpoint why and how did I gain it all back and where did I fail? And it came back to sustainability. Yes, I utilized some of the LadyBoss boss method, but I did it my way. So this time around,
because you said you did it your way the first time around, it didn't work so much. Now you're saying you did it your way the second time, but there's a twist.
Well, I did it the LadyBoss way. I didn't do it my way. I didn't try to take it in my own control. I followed the method to keep it sustainable. Because as I said the first time around, 2 days at the gym, 100% clean eating. Like, I'm a foodie. Like, that's not ideal. I have 2 kids and a husband. Might as well have 3 kids. Not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I had to follow the LadyBoss boss method that really focuses on it being a lifestyle change and making it sustainable. And now I've actually lost 75 pounds. I weigh the weight I weighed before I had my now 16-year-old, And I had never seen that weight on the scale in 16 years.
Kaitlyn, I just got chills for you. It's just such a great story. It is the hero's journey. Incredible. And it's such a perfect place for you to be the spokesperson, the CEO of this company now. I do want to ask you though, one of the things you said about Kaitlyn is you have the kids, and she wanted to have more of that lifestyle. What about you?
Work-life balance.
How do you do it? That's what people want to know.
It is hard, but I live by my calendar religiously. I don't work Monday through Friday by any means, but staying on my calendar helps a lot. When it is, 6:00 my time, I shut down so I can be present with my family. Taking this on, we sat my kids down, not so much my youngest, but my oldest, and had the conversations like, hey, there's going to be things that we're going to have to skip and whatnot to make this happen. But here's the bigger picture. Here's the longevity of it. But truly calendar your life out, calendar your self-care, calendar your business meetings, calendar your fun, calendar your shutdown, your family time. Like that sounds like a lot of work to calendar it, but that's how you protect your space so you can be present and intentional in whatever it is you need to do and want.
I am a calendar girl. I'm a color-coded calendar girl. And I know you like colors and sparkle. So do I. Yes. So is your husband involved in this business?
He is not involved in the day-to-day at this point in time. He is involved on the higher level, but we're actually changing some things around with the business, and I'm hoping he'll overtake our fulfillment and open up a fulfillment department for LadyBoss. So
put it out there. Out there. Start to really, focus your energy on that, the why behind it, the emotion behind it. I have something called the Believe It board, where you infuse not just a dream board vision. They don't work. We got to talk. Believe It board, girl, because that's how you're going to make that happen. But let me, for the people that are listening right now, do you have a piece of advice for them that you would give women struggling with their health, confidence today? What do you usually, where do you start? You're on a stage right now and everyone is just staring at you saying, you are my salvation here. You are my help. You are LadyBoss. Tell me what to do.
I would say, first off, again, you're not broken. There is a you inside of you that is dying to get out. Let's start finding her. Let's dig deep and find her, because she is screaming. She wants out. She does. And when you find her, you unlock a whole exciting level of life.
So what have you unlocked about yourself?
So much. I don't let fear stop me anymore. In fact, I've flipped the script. Fear is my driving motivator. If I'm scared of it, that means I'm meant to do it. There's a reason it's trying to hold me back, and it's not.
It's so powerful. And I have to say, I'm so excited that for those listening, we have a big event in Arizona, September 18, 19, 20th. And Kaitlyn's going to be there. She is going to do something extraordinary. She's going to sparkle like never before. And I know from a relaunch perspective with health and wealth, relationships, and all the other relaunches that we're going through, I think health is top priority. I mean, without it, and I've just recently had another diagnosis. I've had melanoma in the past and I've had something on my forehead and they're like, oh, so I'm going next week. But you're fine until you're not. Mm-hmm. Right? Everything's great until you're not. And so part of the relaunch to a rich life event is, how do we keep ourselves healthy? How do we do as much as we can, but in a fun way? And that's another thing I love about you. It's that, you don't do anything unless you're enjoying it. And so I want to make sure we will put a link that if you want to be there with Kaitlyn and LadyBoss and the relaunch crew, you don't want to miss this, because this is designed specifically. And so Kaitlyn, thank you for being a part of it and bringing your community and having what you've done, because you are an inspiration. You are so impactful because you're honest enough to say, hey, this is what happened to me. This was my relaunch. And your transformation story is not just like a straight path. It's not just like, here's the yellow brick road, follow it. You've hit the bumps along the way. But what would you want to leave people that are listening right now that potentially are still in fear about, I'm not sure I can really do this. I'm not sure I could really get into a program like LadyBoss and it could work for me.
One of my favorite quotes is great things never came from comfort zones. Fear keeps you in that comfort zone. And if you're wanting change, you're never going to get it in that comfort zone, whether it's fear or the comfort, because you can't pinpoint the fear yet. If you want change, you have to drive forward. You can't stay in that comfort zone.
Kaitlyn, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find more about you and follow you?
Yes, so you can find me at Kaitlyn Talamante on Facebook and Instagram. And then, of course, you really want to be a part of the LadyBoss community. And it's ladyboss.com, LadyBoss on Instagram, as well as on Facebook.
And I am a part of it as well, which I love because I think, again, we can leverage just healthy relaunches along the way. And we have our dips and we need to kind of, be inspired again to kind of get back on track and live that healthy life. So everybody check it out. Make sure that you put yourself as priority number one. Make sure that you're reaching out to find yourself again. I often say you need to meet her. And that is that earlier version of you that we have ignored. She's there just waiting to have you say, hey, I'm now here. I'm now listening. I want to develop a relationship with you. So everyone, thank you for being here. And again, Kaitlyn Talamante, what a conversation. And we are so excited to be working with you. And who knows where things are going to evolve. And I am so excited to see you in Arizona. And for those that want to find out more, you can. And it is ReLaunch to a Rich Life.com. ReLaunch to a Rich Life.com. Check it out. All right. Until next week, take care, keep relaunching, and we will see you again soon.